Why did no one see her coming? Maybe because she was small, quiet, forgettable in a crowd. Maybe because even in a room full of trained killers, Emily Walker didn't look like a threat. But the first time her rifle spoke, the battlefield listened. The valley burned with gunfire. Automatic bursts raked the stone wall where 6 Navy SEALs clung to survival, their cover disintegrating with every hit. Dust stung their eyes. Blood streaked the rocks. They were pinned. An ambush in 3 directions. The extraction bird still 20 minutes away. 20 minutes in that kill zone might as well have been forever. Command, this is Eagle 6. We are pinned down. Request immediate air support. Lieutenant Commander Richards shouted into his radio, but the static came back cruel, indifferent. Support was too far. The Taliban were closing. And then, one shot, clean, surgical. On the ridge above, a fighter dropped without warning. His partner jerked sideways, lifeless before he hit the dirt. Then another fell. And another. The advance stopped cold, confusion rippling through the enemy as a ghost began tearing them apart with invisible precision. "Who the hell is that?" one SEAL whispered, disbelief in his voice. The answer came through their radios, a calm female voice, steady as stone. "Eagle 6, this is Ghost Eye. Northern exfil route is clear. You've got 60 seconds, move now." They didn't know the voice, didn't know the shooter. But when the valley itself seemed to bend to her will, Richards gave the only order that mattered. "You heard her. Move." The SEALs ran for their lives, every step covered by that unseen rifle. When the helicopter finally lifted them out, Richards tried to call back. "Ghost Eye, whoever you are, thank you." A pause, then her reply, almost too soft for the radio to catch. "Just doing my job, Ghost Eye out." None of them knew then who had saved them, or how long the path had been that carried her to that mountainside. Her story hadn't begun in the dust of Afghanistan. It had begun 18 months earlier, in California, when a girl too small to be noticed walked into a world built to crush her. The San Diego sun glared across Coronado's parade ground. A line of 25 candidates stood at attention, boots aligned, eyes forward. 24 of them looked the part, broad-shouldered, muscled, sharp-jawed. And then there was her. Emily Walker, 5'2", 110 pounds, 22 years old, a body that looked more suited for a library than a battlefield. The men didn't bother hiding their smirks. A few laughed under their breath. What was she doing here? What joke had the Navy decided to play? Emily ignored them. She'd expected this. Trained herself for this moment, not the push-ups or the shooting, but this silence, this contempt. She kept her face still, eyes locked forward as if their mockery didn't exist. The double doors of the administration building slammed open. Captain Frank Harrison strode out, flanked by 2 instructors. Harrison's eyes were ice. He scanned the line like a predator counting which would survive the winter. When his gaze found Emily, it lingered, unreadable, then moved on. "This is Scout Sniper School," his voice cut through the courtyard. "One of the hardest programs in the United States military. Many of you will not finish. Most of you will fail." He paced slowly, boots echoing. "We are not here to create adequate shooters. We are here to create exceptional ones. The battlefield demands warriors who can disappear for days, calculate under pressure, endure misery most men cannot stand, and deliver precision death with a single breath." He stopped directly in front of Emily. "Some of you will break. Others will discover strengths you never imagined. Potential means nothing. Only performance matters. Starting today, your past is irrelevant. You will be judged here, by what you do, by who you are when everything else is stripped away." Emily didn't flinch. His stare felt like a weight pressing into her chest, but she held it. She'd come too far to blink now. When Harrison dismissed them, Sergeant Miller took over, clipboard in hand, jaw set in a smirk that promised war. He stopped in front of her. "Walker," he said, drawing out the name. "There must be a mistake." "No mistake, Sergeant," she replied evenly. His eyes narrowed. This isn't a social experiment. Nobody's lowering the bar here. I wouldn't be here if they were, Emily said. Miller leaned closer, his voice low, venom dripping. This program breaks men twice your size. You really think you belong? Before she could answer, another voice cut in, gravelly, older. Problem here, Sergeant Miller. Master Sergeant Blackwood had arrived silently, his weathered face unreadable. Unlike Miller's open hostility, his pale eyes studied her with something colder, calculation. No problem, Miller muttered. But Emily felt it. She was already marked. That night in the barracks filled with skeptical stares, Emily unpacked the only things she owned. A few folded uniforms, a toothbrush, a small photograph tucked deep inside her manual. She pulled it out when the room went quiet. In the dim light, two faces smiled back, her father in camouflage, towering and strong, and a teenage girl beside him, both holding rifles at a dusty range. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Walker, Army Special Forces, a legend, 87 confirmed kills across 2 wars, her father. Behind the photo was another, her brother in Navy dress blues, Lieutenant David Walker, SEAL sniper, killed 2 years ago when his team was ambushed in Afghanistan. Emily touched their faces with her fingertips. She hadn't told anyone here, not about her father's reputation, not about her brother's grave. She didn't want a legacy. She wanted a chance. But as she stared into the mirror above her bunk, she saw the same eyes her father once called a sniper's greatest weapon, Walker Green. They missed nothing. And they would not close, not here, not now. At 600 the next morning, the candidates stood shivering on the beach, rucksacks weighing down their shoulders, 35 pounds in each pack. For Emily, that was nearly a third of her body weight. 20 miles, Miller barked. 5 hours. Anyone who quits, anyone who fails the time, anyone who cheats, you're gone. Begin. The group surged forward, boots thudding in the sand. Emily settled into the middle, steady pace, conserving breath. Already the straps cut into her shoulders like knives. The sand shifted, dragging at her feet. By mile 5, men had spread out. By mile 10, some had fallen out, collapsed against the shoreline. Emily's legs burned, her lungs screamed, her pack crushed her spine. She thought of her father's words on a hunting trip long ago. Pain is just information, Emmy. The body quits long before the mind. Decide when you're finished. She decided, not yet. By mile 18, she was alone, staggering forward, eyes blurred from sweat and exhaustion. At the finish line, it was Miller waiting with his smirk. It was Blackwood. He checked his watch. 4 hours, 52 minutes, he said. 8 minutes to spare. Emily collapsed to her knees, gasping, trembling, nearly broken. Blackwood's face didn't soften, but his words carried a weight. Most your size wouldn't have made it. Report to medical. You're still in. She had finished 20th of 21, near the bottom, but she had finished. And that was enough, for now. That afternoon, the rifles came out. Long, heavy M40s placed on the line. The instructors wanted to see who could really shoot. Miller handed Emily one, his voice dripping with disdain. Might be too much gun for you, Walker. The men chuckled. She ignored them, lowering herself behind the weapon, adjusting the stock awkward against her smaller frame. The ocean wind cut across the range, flags fluttering. She read them carefully, her father's lessons echoing in her memory. She inhaled, let half her breath out, found the stillness between heartbeats, squeezed. The shot cracked, then another, each clean, each calm. When the ceasefire was called and the targets checked, Miller's voice betrayed his disbelief. Walker 5 shots, 1 hole, perfect score. A murmur rippled down the line. Thompson, the loud candidate who had mocked her in the barracks, stared in shock. Beginner's luck, he muttered. But it wasn't luck. At 200 yards, she repeated it. At 400 again. At 600, her group stayed tighter than most of theirs at half the distance. And at 800 yards, half a mile, she still found her mark. When Blackwood inspected the final target, he paused for a long time before speaking. Extraordinary accuracy. That night, as Emily cleaned her rifle with meticulous care, Blackwood approached quietly. "Where did you learn to shoot like that, Walker?" "My father taught me, Master Sergeant." His eyes narrowed. "Your father must have been something." Emily met his gaze. "He was a hunter." Not a lie, but not the whole truth. Blackwood studied her a long moment, then nodded. "Talent isn't enough here. Remember that." When he walked away, Emily exhaled, hands trembling slightly. Her secret was safe for now. But she knew the truth wouldn't stay buried forever. And when it came out, she would have to be ready. Why was she still standing? That was the question in every whispered glance, every half-smile traded behind her back. After the march, after the rifle range, after proving herself again and again, Emily Walker remained in the program. And that unsettled people. The barracks had grown colder toward her, the silence thick with judgment. She wasn't one of them, not really. Too small, too quiet, too good with a rifle, good enough to make people wonder, good enough to make people hate. But Emily had grown used to silence. The next morning began with combat swimming. The Pacific rolled gray and merciless, swallowing candidates one by one into its freezing surf. Emily waded in, already shivering, her small frame burning energy too fast. By the time they staggered onto the beach for the 2-mile run, her body felt numb, her steps clumsy. She finished dead last, sand sticking to her wet skin, chest heaving, lips purple. Miller's smirk returned like a blade. "Falling behind already, Walker. Told you this wasn't built for you." But before Emily could answer, another voice broke in. Blackwood appearing with a folder in hand. "Academic assessments," he said flatly. "Perfect score on the ballistics exam, only one in the class." The words landed like a grenade. Heads turned. Thompson froze mid-smirk. Chen raised his brows, impressed. Miller scanned the paper, disbelief in every line of his face. "That can't be right." "I checked the calculations myself," Blackwood replied. His eyes flicked toward Emily, unreadable. "She's the only one who got them all correct." Emily said nothing. She didn't need to. The classroom became her battlefield. Numbers and wind tables, bullet drop and humidity adjustments, things most wrestled with, she absorbed like second nature. Her father had drilled it into her years ago, making math a part of every shot. As she worked quietly, she felt the weight of eyes on her, respect from a few, resentment from many. That night, Chen lingered by her bunk. "Walker," he said softly, "where'd you learn all that?" Emily kept cleaning her rifle, her movements steady. "Same as anyone else. Practice." Chen studied her a moment, then nodded. He didn't press. Maybe he understood what it meant to carry a past you didn't share. But Thompson was less forgiving. The next day, during counter-sniper tactics, his hand shot up. "Master Sergeant," he asked, voice oily with false curiosity, "how much does family background matter? Say, if someone grew up with special training, wouldn't that give them an advantage?" The classroom went still, his eyes cut toward Emily. Blackwood paused. "Experience can help, but it doesn't guarantee success. This program measures performance, not lineage." Thompson's grin widened. "But shouldn't everyone disclose if they had certain advantages?" Silence. Then he reached into his ruck and pulled out a manila folder, Emily's name on the tab. Her stomach turned to ice. Maybe candidate Walker would like to explain why she never mentioned her father was Lieutenant Colonel Robert Walker, legendary sniper, or her brother, Lieutenant David Walker, Navy SEAL, killed in action. The room erupted in whispers. Stares burned into her. Emily sat still, face calm, though inside her chest cracked open. "Where did you get that file, candidate?" Blackwood's voice was a blade. Thompson faltered. I found it on Sergeant Miller's desk, left open." Blackwood's expression hardened. "Report to Captain Harrison, now." As the class emptied for break, Emily was ordered to remain. She stood alone before Blackwood. "Is it true?" he asked. "Yes, Master Sergeant," Emily said quietly. "Why hide it?" "I didn't want to be judged by my name, only by what I can do." Blackwood studied her. His face, normally stone, softened just a fraction. "Your father once told me something years ago. A sniper isn't measured by the targets they hit, but by the lives they save. Remember that, Walker. You carry a legacy now. How you handle it will decide everything." Emily nodded, but when she returned to the barracks the air had changed. Respect, resentment, curiosity, all tangled in the gazes that followed her. She had wanted to prove herself unseen. Now she was the center of every eye. Chen found her that evening, still polishing her rifle like prayer beads. "The daughter of Robert Walker," he murmured, "explains a lot." Emily looked up. "Does it change anything?" Chen shrugged. "Just means the pressure's heavier than I thought, bigger shoes to fill." "It's not about filling shoes," Emily said softly. "It's about honoring what they stood for." Chen studied her, then he gave a small nod. "For what it's worth, Thompson got hammered, extra duty, formal reprimand. Harrison doesn't tolerate breaches like that." "And Miller?" she asked. Chen hesitated. Nothing official, but Blackwood's watching him now. Emily returned her gaze to the rifle. Her secret was gone, but maybe now she could stop hiding. Week 3, the infiltration exercise. 16 candidates remained, paired into teams, dropped by helicopter into the mountains east of San Diego. 72 hours, full combat load, avoid detection, gather intelligence, exfiltrate. Emily carried a pack nearly half her body weight, every step a punishment. Chen was her partner, and together they moved through the trees, careful, deliberate. By afternoon, they found the observation point, a rocky perch with a view over a valley camp. Mock enemy forces patrolled below. Emily set their hide, weaving brush, shaping angles, making them invisible from 10 feet away. Her father's lessons reborn. Hours passed. They documented every guard rotation, every vehicle. Her pen scratched vulnerabilities into the notebook, 3-minute gap in coverage, blind spots in the perimeter. As darkness fell, the temperature plummeted. By midnight it was near freezing. Emily's small body shivered uncontrollably, but she kept her watch. Fingers numb, she flexed them constantly, knowing cold could kill precision. At 200, headlights cut the night. A vehicle rolled in. Soldiers formed a protective ring. A VIP emerged, tall, commanding, the high-value target of the exercise. "Need a better angle," Chen whispered, "from the western outcrop." "I'll go," Emily said instantly. "It's risky, terrain's exposed." "I'm smaller, harder to see, you stay. Radio check every 15. She stripped her pack down to essentials, goggles, sidearm, camera. Then she slipped into the night. The crawl was agony. Sharp rocks dug into her ribs, branches clawed her arms. Twice patrols passed within feet. Once a flashlight swept directly over her and she forced her eyes open, unfocused, fighting the primal urge to flinch. "Become a rock," her father's voice whispered from memory. At last she reached the outcrop. From there the target's face was clear under the lights. She snapped the photos, each click a heartbeat, objective secured. But her luck broke on the way back. Loose rocks shifted, clattering into the night. A shout, footsteps pounding. Contact. Emily ran, small body weaving through brush, slipping through gaps bigger men couldn't. She doubled back, crossed streams, laid false tracks. The chase dragged on for 20 minutes before the shouts faded. Then her radio hissed. Chen's whisper, "Walker, I'm compromised, patrols on me. Hides blown, extraction alpha, 5 miles. Protocol said leave him, save yourself, finish the mission." But Emily's choice had been made long before this night. Her father's first rule, her brother's last lesson. "You never leave your team." She altered course, circling wide to reach him from the blind side. When she saw him, hands on his head, 3 guards around him, she knew what she had to do. Stones in her pocket, a trick from childhood. She hurled them into the brush, one after another. Noise erupted 30 yards away. 2 guards moved to investigate. Emily slid behind the last, pressed her training pistol to his back. "Exercise round," she whispered. "You're out." His hands rose. Chen moved instantly, grabbing his rifle, bolting with her into the trees. "That was suicidal," he hissed as they ran. "Probably," she answered, breathing hard, "but I'm not leaving you behind." 5 miles through punishing terrain, 2 checkpoints, an enemy perimeter at the extraction meadow, the clock ticking toward failure. Chen saw only impossibility. "They've got every approach covered," he said, scanning through binoculars. "Not every approach," Emily countered. Her eyes traced the open meadow, the shallow drainage ditch across its flank, barely a foot and a half deep. Not enough for most, maybe enough for her. "They won't expect it," she said. "That's our chance." Minutes later, she was belly crawling through mud, sweat stinging her eyes as guards passed just feet above. She inched forward inch by inch until she was inside their perimeter. From there she created chaos, pebbles wrapped in tissue, thrown in 3 directions. A single round fired into dirt, dust puffing like a sniper's miss. The enemy scattered, chasing shadows. Chen moved first, sprinting across the opening. Then Emily broke cover. The guards saw her at the last second, shouts rising. She ran harder, legs screaming, lungs tearing open. The helicopter's rotors thundered in the distance. Chen broke from cover, laying down fire to slow the pursuit. Emily pushed the last 30 yards, every step defying every doubt that had ever been thrown at her. And then, she was inside the zone, collapsing into the helicopter's belly as the ramp slammed shut. As they lifted into the sky, Emily caught a glimpse of the opposition below, men raising their hands, offering grudging salutes. Respect hard-earned. Chen grinned through exhaustion. Mission complete. Emily leaned back, chest heaving. A tired smile tugged at her lips. She had broken the rules. She had risked it all. But she had done the one thing no one thought she could. She won. Why hadn't she quit? That was the question now. Most who'd been cornered in the mountains would have accepted capture, written off the mission, surrendered to the exercise parameters. But Emily Walker had broken the pattern, rescued her partner, gambled everything, and won. Her instructors didn't know what to make of her. Captain Harrison sat behind his desk, the after-action report spread before him. His jaw worked as he read. "Unprecedented," he muttered. "Candidate Walker not only secured photographic confirmation of the target, but executed a tactical rescue of her teammate and achieved exfiltration under pressure." Around him, the instructor cadre debated. "Her methods were unorthodox, sir," Miller argued, voice sharp. "She violated protocol, prioritized her partner over the objective. In a real mission, that kind of sentimentality gets people killed." Blackwood's gravelly voice cut in. "Did it? She completed the mission. Intelligence secured, team extracted intact. By every metric, that's success." Miller's lip curled. "She barely survives the physical tests. She won't last in Afghanistan, she's too small." "Yet she carried more weight in worse conditions, further than half the class," Blackwood replied. "Maybe small isn't weakness, maybe it's adaptation." Harrison raised a hand, silencing them both. "The program has 3 weeks left. Walker continues. The final evaluation will decide. Until then, she's earned her place." But as the others filed out, Miller's glare lingered. The fight between them was far from over. Back in the barracks, Emily felt the difference. The atmosphere had shifted. Men who once mocked her now fell silent when she passed. Some nodded in acknowledgement. Others looked at her with quiet calculation, as if reevaluating where she fit in their hierarchy. Chen clapped her shoulder as they unpacked. That was one hell of a move out there. They'll be arguing about it for months. Emily gave a tired half-smile. They'll argue about me, you mean? Maybe, Chen admitted, but respect's harder to ignore once it's earned. Still, Emily felt the weight heavier than before. The Walker name was no longer hidden. Now every success looked like inevitability, every stumble like betrayal of a legacy. She wanted to be measured by her will, her choices, her endurance. Instead, she was haunted by ghosts she hadn't invited. The next week pushed the candidates harder. Urban combat drills in concrete mock villages, long nights in the cold, endless hours behind scopes. Emily's small frame made her slower on breach-and-clear runs. Her boots slapped the stairs of abandoned buildings seconds behind Thompson's thundering pace. Miller seized every opportunity. You'll get someone killed, Walker. A house waits for no one. She didn't argue. She simply finished the drill, sweat stinging her eyes, jaw set. Then she went again and again. Technique where strength failed, timing where speed faltered, efficiency where size betrayed her. But it wasn't enough for Miller. One night, after lights out, she overheard him outside the barracks speaking with another instructor. She's a liability, he said, voice low but cutting. I don't care who her father was. This program isn't designed for her kind. The words pierced deeper than the ocean cold. Her kind. As if being born small, born female, was an unalterable flaw. As if the blood she shared with her brother, buried halfway across the world, meant nothing. Emily lay awake staring at the ceiling. She couldn't silence the thought, what if he's right? The following day tested them in ways none expected. Land navigation. Pairs dropped in different sectors of wild terrain with only maps and compasses. Emily and Chen moved steadily, locating checkpoints one by one. But when they crossed paths with Thompson and Ramirez, things unraveled. They were arguing over terrain features when Emily noticed it, the manila folder peeking from Thompson's ruck. Her name again. Her heart clenched. Afterward, as they pulled away, Chen murmured, "He shouldn't have that. He'll use it against you." Emily's jaw tightened. Then I need to know how much he knows. But she already did. Enough to destroy her credibility. Enough to poison the program against her. The weight pressed heavier. The confrontation came sooner than she expected. In class, again, Thompson raised his hand with feigned innocence. Shouldn't candidates be required to disclose special training, Master Sergeant? Seems unfair otherwise. The trap sprung. This time, though, Blackwood's response was steel. This program evaluates performance, not parentage. Performance, Thompson, remember that. Emily kept her gaze forward, her face carved from stone, but inside her pulse thundered. The secret was no longer hers. Later in private, Blackwood approached her. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" Emily hesitated. "Because I needed to know I could survive without their names, that I wasn't just their daughter or his sister." For a moment, Blackwood's expression softened. "Your father was a legend. I met him once. Could put 3 rounds through the same hole at 800 yards, said it was all in the eyes." Emily swallowed hard. "He told me that too." Blackwood leaned closer, his voice low. "Legacies are heavy, but they don't carry the rifle for you. Remember that." The weeks blurred. Fewer candidates remained each day. Fatigue eroded faces once full of bravado. Thompson faltered in land nav. Ramirez twisted an ankle on the obstacle course and was gone by sundown. But Emily stayed. Slow, deliberate, dogged. Each obstacle that should have ended her only taught her new ways to move. Each insult only hardened her silence. By the end of week 4, 11 remained from 25. Emily Walker still among them. That night, after another brutal drill, Chen found her cleaning her rifle by the dim light. "You ever think about quitting?" he asked. Emily didn't look up. "Every day." "Then why stay?" She paused, her cloth moving in slow circles over the barrel. "Because quitting would mean they were right." Chen studied her for a moment, then nodded. Then don't quit. His words were simple, but they landed like anchor points in her chest. A reminder that sometimes survival wasn't about strength. It was about refusing to surrender to the voices that wanted you gone. But Miller wasn't finished. The final evaluation loomed, a test harsher than any before. A week-long field exercise simulating real-world operations, with live-fire components, endurance trials, and survival phases. Miller waited until the candidates were dismissed one evening before pulling her aside. "You've made it further than I expected," he said, tone almost amused. "But this last phase, you won't last. You'll wash out and everyone will see what I've known since day one. You don't belong." Emily met his gaze. "We'll see." He smirked. "We will." Later, lying awake in her bunk, Emily pulled out the photos again. Her father strong and proud. Her brother smiling in uniform. She touched their faces gently, whispered words she'd never spoken aloud. "I'm not doing this because of you. I'm doing it because of me, but I hope, wherever you are, you'd be proud." The barracks hummed with snores and restless shifts, but Emily's eyes stayed open long into the night. The final test was coming, the one that would break her or prove her. And for the first time, even she wasn't sure which way it would go. What would it take to break her? That was the quiet wager whispered in the instructor's eyes as the final phase began. Some thought it would be the cold. Others thought it would be the weight of the pack, the endless miles. A few thought she'd last until sleep deprivation stripped her down to raw nerves. But no one believed she'd finish. The candidates assembled at dawn, 11 remaining from the original 25. Packs lined the sand, rifles slung over tired shoulders. Captain Harrison's voice cut through the surf. "This is your final evaluation. 7 days. No resupply, no shortcuts. You will live, move, and fight as snipers in hostile terrain. Fail any phase and you're done. Survive and you graduate. Good luck." They were dropped by helicopter into the mountains. Jagged ridgelines stretched for miles, forests tangled and merciless. For 7 days they would march, hide, observe, and report, all while hunted by instructors playing the role of enemy forces. Day 1 bled into exhaustion, packs crushed spines, feet blistered, sweat burned eyes. By nightfall, Emily's small frame felt like it carried a mountain, but she set her hide with Chen, blending brush until even a bird wouldn't notice. When Miller's patrol swept within yards, her heart pounded so violently she feared it would give her away. But they passed. She exhaled slowly, silent triumph filling her lungs. Day 2 brought hunger. Their rations, already light, dwindled quickly. Chen rationed carefully, but Emily's smaller body burned fuel faster. By noon her hands shook as she logged target movement, pen scratching tremors across the page. "You okay?" Chen asked. She nodded, lied, "Fine." But her father's voice returned from memory. "The body will scream. Let it. It's the mind that decides when you're done." That night, she whispered the mantra to herself like prayer. Day 3 broke 2 candidates. Ramirez stumbled during a forced march, his ankle swollen beyond repair, evacuated by helicopter before sunset. Patel was caught by the enemy, dragged from his hide after leaving a careless trail. 9 remained. Emily's body screamed with every step, blisters bled in her boots. Her shoulders burned under the straps, her lips cracked from thirst. Still she walked. Chen watched her carefully. "You don't eat enough, you won't last." "I'll last," she said, though her voice shook. Day 4 was ambush. A sudden roar of blanks and flashbangs tearing through the trees. Candidates scattered, smoke filling lungs. Emily dove behind a log, rifle cradled against her chest. Her small body trembled as instructors closed in, shouting commands, hunting them like prey. Chen's voice came through the static of her radio. "Split. Meet at grid 573. She crawled through mud, thorns tearing at her skin. Once Miller's voice thundered just yards away. She's small, check the brush. Emily froze, pressed into earth, body shaking. Footsteps passed within inches. A boot crushed the branch near her head. Then silence. When she reached the rally point an hour later, Chen was waiting. His grin was tired but real. Ghost. Emily swallowed, forcing a shaky laugh. Not bad for someone too small. But inside, her chest trembled with something else. Fear, not of being caught, of failing, of proving Miller right. Day 5 brought the cold. Rain hammered the mountains, soaking every stitch of clothing. Temperatures plummeted. Hypothermia became the enemy. By dusk, Emily's lips were blue, her hands numb, every breath ragged. She huddled with Chen under a tarp of brush and poncho, shivering uncontrollably. "You can't keep losing heat like this," Chen said, voice urgent. She shook her head stubbornly. "I'm fine." "No, you're not. You're shutting down." Her teeth chattered too hard to answer. Chen swore under his breath. Then, without hesitation, he pulled her into his chest, wrapping his arms around her, sharing body heat in the cramped space. For the first time since arriving, Emily felt something she hadn't allowed herself: safety. But even in warmth, shame gnawed at her. Was Miller right? Was she surviving only because others carried her weight? When she finally drifted into shallow sleep, her dreams burned with her brother's voice. "You don't need to be the strongest. You just need to endure." Day 6, the starvation set in. Their rations gone, their bodies empty, the mountain unforgiving. Emily moved in a fog, each step mechanical, her vision tunneling. At one point she stumbled and nearly fell down a ravine. Chen grabbed her arm, steadying her. "You're done," he said, worry carving his face. "You can't keep this pace." But Emily shook her head, forcing words through cracked lips. "If I stop now, everything was for nothing." Chen studied her for a long moment, then he nodded. "Then I'll match your pace, but don't you dare fall." Every mile after that felt like eternity, but she didn't fall. Day 7, the final gauntlet, a live fire stalk. Each candidate had to infiltrate within 200 meters of an instructor observer, remain undetected, and take the shot. One mistake, and the week meant nothing. Emily crawled into the grass at dawn, body screaming with fatigue. The field stretched open before her, the observer's tower looming. She inched forward, belly scraping dirt, rifle dragging slowly with her. Every movement deliberate, timed with wind, with swaying grass. Hours passed, her elbows bled, her knees bruised, her muscles cramped in agony. But she remembered her father's voice. Patience isn't waiting, it's discipline under silence. At 190 yards, she halted. Slowly, she adjusted her rifle, scope glint hidden beneath her cap. She exhaled, let her body still, found the moment between heartbeats. The shot cracked. Through the scope, she saw the observer's target plate fall. "Hit confirmed," Blackwood's voice echoed over the field. Emily lay there a long time, chest pressed to dirt, tears burning her eyes. Not joy, not triumph, just relief. She hadn't broken. That night the candidates gathered for final tally. Only 7 had completed the course. Captain Harrison stood before them, his voice firm but edged with rare pride. "You are no longer candidates. You are snipers, the best of the best. You've earned what no one can ever take from you." Emily stood among them, her body battered, her spirit trembling. For the first time, she allowed herself a small, quiet smile. Chen leaned close. "Told you last." She whispered back barely. But inside, a different voice answered, the one she'd carried since day 1. "I belong here." That night, lying awake in her bunk, Emily pulled out her photos one last time. Her father, her brother. "I made it," she whispered. "Not because of you, but with you, always with you." The barracks was silent, but in her heart she felt them, proud, watching. And when dawn broke, the insignia on her uniform wasn't just fabric. It was proof. Small didn't mean weak. Small meant resilient, invisible, deadly. and the world would soon learn what Ghost Eye could do. Why did they laugh when she walked into the hangar? Maybe because she was half their size. Maybe because her uniform still looked fresh, her rifle case too clean. Or maybe because the world of war had never made room for someone like Emily Walker. But now there was no training cadre, no grades, no controlled drills. Only deployment, Afghanistan, and the war didn't care who you were. The C-17 touched down on a dirt runway surrounded by mountains that looked older than time itself. Heat shimmered in waves, mixing with the stink of jet fuel and dust. Emily stepped off the ramp with her rucksack digging into her shoulders, boots sinking into foreign soil for the first time. The SEAL team was waiting, already geared, weapons slung, eyes sharp. Their leader, Lieutenant Commander Richards, studied her with polite detachment. "You're the sniper attached from Coronado." "Yes, sir, Petty Officer Emily Walker." His eyes flicked to her frame, then back to her face. He gave a nod that wasn't approval, wasn't rejection, just acknowledgement. But the others weren't so restrained. Thompson, no, not Thompson. A man cut from the same cloth, broad and loud, grinned. "Hope you brought a booster seat for that rifle, Walker. Gonna need it." Laughter rippled. Emily's face didn't change. She just shifted the rifle case higher on her shoulder and said evenly, "It's not the seat that matters. It's the shot." The laughter dulled, but it didn't vanish. Their base was a small combat outpost carved into the mountainside. HESCO barriers, sandbags, plywood shacks. Sparse, temporary, fragile. Emily was given a bunk in a cramped hut, her gear stacked neatly, rifle laid out like an altar. The first nights were quiet. She listened to the generators hum, the distant bark of dogs, the occasional echo of gunfire far off in the valleys. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of the insignia on her chest. This wasn't training anymore. One mistake and men died. Her brother's face returned in the dark, smiling in uniform, buried beneath soil not unlike this. "Don't let them down," she whispered into the silence. The first mission came fast, a village sweep in a valley notorious for Taliban movement. Emily was ordered to overwatch from a ridge, covering the SEALs as they searched compounds. She set up before dawn, her small body tucked against rock, camouflage netting draped, rifle steady. The valley below lay in shadow, houses scattered like bones. Hours crawled, heat baked her skin, sweat trickled. She stayed motionless, eyes scanning through her scope, lungs measured. Then movement, a figure slipping behind a mud wall, an RPG slung on his shoulder. Another crouched with a radio, coordinates, ambush forming. Emily's finger found the trigger, breath in, half out, silence in her chest. The shot cracked, the radio man dropped, silent forever. She shifted. The RPG carrier crumpled. Below, the SEALs spun, alerted by her shots. Shouts, commands, movement. The valley erupted in gunfire. Emily worked calmly, methodically. A head appeared on a rooftop, one shot gone. Another tried flanking, one shot ended. Through the chaos, her voice stayed steady on the comms. 2 down, 3 down, RPG neutralized, push east, you're clear. Richard's voice came back, clipped but edged with something new, trust. Copy, Ghost Eye. By the time the SEALs pulled back, 5 enemy lay dead, and not a single American had been touched. At the debrief, Richard studied her across the table. "Your shooting saved us today. Whatever they told you at Coronado, you're here because you earned it." Some of the men still smirked, still doubted, but others looked at her differently now. Quiet nods, a muttered, "Nice work." Emily didn't smile. She only cleaned her rifle that night in silence, each pass of the cloth a reminder. She'd done her job, just like her father taught, just like her brother would have wanted. But inside she felt the tremor, the knowledge that she had ended lives, not silhouettes, not paper targets, men, breathing one moment, gone the next. She lay awake, staring at her hands. They didn't shake, they never shook. And that was what terrified her most. Weeks blurred into routine, patrols, overwatch, nights filled with static and dust. The SEALs tested her in small ways, extra weight added to her pack, casual jabs during briefings, questions meant to trip her. But when her rifle spoke, doubt silenced. Chen wasn't there anymore, but she felt him in memory. His quiet faith, don't quit. One night, sitting alone by the barrier, Richards approached. "You don't say much, Walker." "Not much to say, sir." He nodded, watching the mountains glow under moonlight. "The men are coming around, slowly. You'll never hear them admit it, but they've seen your work, that's enough." Emily glanced at him. "And you, sir?" He paused, then, "I've seen enough to know I want your rifle on my team." The words hit harder than any compliment. They weren't praise, they were trust. The ambush came 2 weeks later. A routine patrol, village edge. Quiet, too quiet. Emily on overwatch again, high ridge, scope sweeping. Then shadows, dozens moving fast, rifles, RPGs, the air filled with gunfire, SEALs pinned against a crumbling wall. Emily's chest tightened. Flashbacks of her brother's team ambushed the same way. Her brother who never came home. Not again. Her rifle cracked. One fell, then another. She moved faster, smoother than ever before. The valley seemed to slow, every breath measured, every target clear. But there were too many, dozens more closing. Her comms flared, Richard's voice strained. "We're surrounded, Ghost Eye, we need a way out." Her scope found it, a narrow northern pass, half hidden, guarded by 3 fighters but open beyond. She keyed her radio. "Northern route, clear it, go now, I'll cover." The SEALs broke, sprinting under fire. Emily's rifle cut down anyone who tried to intercept. Blood sprayed, dirt jumped. When the helicopter finally arrived, the SEALs were already on the move, her shots still echoing. Richard's voice crackled as they lifted off. "Ghost Eye, whoever you are, you just saved us all." Emily exhaled, lowering her rifle, her body trembling with exhaustion. She whispered into the dust, almost to herself, "Just doing my job." That night the outpost was alive with talk. The sniper who no one believed in. The one too small, too quiet, too different. And yet without her, they wouldn't be alive. Emily sat alone, cleaning her rifle. Her hands moved steady, but her eyes burned. Because she knew what none of them did. Every life she saved tonight was balanced against every life she ended. And that weight would never leave her. What happens when the perfect shot isn't enough? That was the question Emily carried after every mission. Each bullet had saved a man beside her. Each bullet had ended another man's life. And the ledger never seemed to balance. The outpost buzzed louder now when her name was mentioned. Ghost Eye wasn't just a call sign, it had become a shield, the sniper who covered them, the reason some of them were still breathing. But Emily didn't feel untouchable. She felt fragile. One mistake, she knew, and it could all come crashing down. The mission was supposed to be routine. Recon and overwatch for a village meeting between tribal elders and American officers. Emily was set up in an abandoned orchard overlooking the compound, her rifle balanced on a collapsed wall, camouflage netting woven with branches. Hours passed, the air thick with heat. The meeting dragged on below, voices raised, arguments flaring. Then Emily's scope caught it, a flicker of movement at the far edge of the village. A man with an AK crouched, shifting closer. Her finger found the trigger. But in that moment, a child darted across the field chasing a goat, directly into her line of fire. Her chest froze. She hesitated. The man raised his rifle. Emily's breath caught, her sight jittering between target and child. She squeezed half the trigger, then stopped, muscles seizing with terror. The SEALs moved first. Bursts of fire cut the attacker down before he could spray. Her comms flared, Richard's voice sharp, "Ghost Eye, where were you?" Emily didn't answer, couldn't. Her hands shook violently as she lowered the rifle. Later in the debrief, Richards cornered her. "You had him," he said, voice controlled but edged with frustration. "Why didn't you take the shot?" Emily's throat tightened. There was a child in the line if I'd missed. "You don't miss," he cut in. She flinched. Richards exhaled, shoulders softening. "Look, Walker, you're here because you're good, but hesitation kills. You freeze again, we might not walk away next time. Understand?" She nodded silently. But that night in her bunk she couldn't shake the image of the child, oblivious to how close death had come. She wondered, how many other bullets had she sent past faces like his? Faces she never saw, lives she never knew. Her rifle was supposed to save people, but how thin was the line between saving and destroying? The weeks grew harsher. Missions bled into each other. Overwatch, counter-sniper, ambush support. One night, a convoy escort through a mountain pass turned into chaos when an IED detonated under the lead vehicle. The blast lit the sky, dirt and metal raining down. Emily scrambled onto a ridge, setting up her rifle in seconds, scanning through smoke and fire. Insurgents appeared like phantoms, pouring fire into the trapped convoy. Her shots answered, one after another, carving windows for the SEALs to drag wounded to cover. But then she saw him, a fighter climbing the rocks behind the convoy with an RPG. He was angled perfectly at the second truck, where 3 men huddled, wounded. She fired too fast. The shot went wide, sparking rock. The RPG loosed. The explosion shredded the second truck, flames swallowing it whole. Screams tore through the comms. Emily's stomach dropped, bile rising in her throat. Her second shot ended the gunner, but it was too late. That night she sat alone, her rifle across her lap, her hands refusing to stop trembling. She had made a mistake, 1 second too fast, 1 shot too imprecise. 3 men were dead because of it. In the mess hall the next day, silence followed her. No accusations, no shouts, just silence. That was worse. She took her tray and sat alone, staring at food she couldn't taste. The SEALs whispered, but none approached. Until Richard sat down across from her. He didn't speak for a long time, just ate, quiet, ordinary. Finally he said, "You blame yourself." Emily stared at him, eyes burning. "I missed." "You saved 9 others," Richards countered. 9 who would have been overrun if you hadn't cut down the rest. "But 3 are dead," she whispered. Richards' gaze was steady. "This isn't a math problem, Walker. It's war. You don't get perfect answers. You only get choices. And you made the ones that saved more than you lost." She lowered her eyes. His words didn't erase the weight, but they gave it shape, something she could carry if not forgive. Still, doubt lingered. Her hands were steady on the rifle, but her heart stumbled in the silence after each shot. She spent nights on the barrier wall, staring into the black mountains. Sometimes she thought she saw shapes moving. Sometimes she wished she did. At least then the ghosts in her head would have faces. Chen's voice haunted her memory, "Don't quit." But she wondered, was she already quitting in small ways? Each hesitation, each doubt, each tremor in her chest. The next mission tested that question. A dawn raid on a weapons cache hidden deep in a valley. Emily was positioned on a ridge again, covering the SEALs as they swept compounds. It should have been straightforward, but halfway through, gunfire erupted from the hills above. Enemy snipers, hidden, patient, lethal. Rounds cracked past her head, slamming into the dirt. She rolled, scanning through her scope, heart hammering. Then she saw him, 200 meters away. Enemy sniper, rifle steady, angled down at Richard's team. She aimed, breath sharp, finger tightening. But her chest clenched. The memory of the child, the RPG, the missed shot, they surged back all at once. Her hands trembled, she froze. The enemy fired. The round missed Richards by inches. Emily's body snapped. Reflex overcame fear. Her shot cracked, perfect, dropping the sniper before he could fire again. She exhaled, shaking violently, her chest heaving. "Ghost eye, that was close," Richard's voice came through comms. Stay with us. She whispered back so soft the mic barely caught it. Always. Afterward, as the team cleared the valley, Emily sat behind her rifle, staring at the enemy's lifeless body. She realized something in that moment. She would never stop doubting, never stop hesitating, questioning, fearing. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the ones who never doubted, never questioned, were the ones most dangerous of all. She carried her rifle back to the outpost, the weight familiar, inevitable. And for the first time, she allowed herself to think that maybe doubt wasn't weakness. Maybe it was what kept her human. That night, Richards joined her again at the barrier. "You think too much," he said. "Maybe," Emily admitted. "Good, thinking means you haven't turned into a machine. We've got enough of those out here." They stood in silence, the desert night vast around them. Finally, Richards said softly, "You ever wonder why you're here, Walker?" Emily looked at him, eyes steady. "Every day." "Then you're the kind I want here," he said simply. She didn't answer, just stared into the dark. Because she knew the truth. She didn't know if she could keep carrying the weight. But she knew she would. Why were they in this valley? The question gnawed at Emily as she scanned the ridges through her scope. Something about the silence felt wrong. Villages normally echoed with dogs, children, voices carried on the wind. Today, nothing, only stillness. Her gut twisted. She adjusted her rifle, whispering into comms, "Ghost Eye to Eagle 6. Areas too quiet. Recommend caution." Richard's voice came back, calm but firm. "Copy, Ghost Eye. Stay sharp." Too late. The first shot cracked like thunder, shattering stone inches from a seal's head. Then another. Then the valley exploded. Machine guns erupted from the ridges, dust clouds rising, dirt spraying as bullets chewed the earth. RPGs streaked from hidden perches, slamming into walls, collapsing mud brick compounds. The SEALs dove for cover, pinned, the world turning into fire and chaos. Emily's heart seized. The ambush was near identical to the one that had killed her brother's team. The same terrain, the same sudden violence, the same feeling of being swallowed alive. Her breath faltered, memories surged. Her brother's name etched on a black stone back home, his empty chair at family dinners. Not again. She forced herself down behind her rifle, fighting to steady her breath. The ridges swam with shadows, dozens of them, too many. Her first shot cracked. One fell. Her second, another. She shifted, every movement mechanical, precise. But for each target she dropped, two more appeared. "Ghost Eye, we're boxed in," Richards shouted. "Need an exit now." Emily's eyes swept the valley, frantic, searching for anything. A gap, a shadow, a chance. There, a narrow wadi cutting north, half hidden by scrub. She keyed the comms. "Northern drainage, that's your way out. I'll hold them." "Walker, you'll be cut off," Richards warned. She didn't answer, her scope already lined up on another muzzle flash. The SEALs began moving, sprinting in bursts under fire. Emily's rifle covered every step, cutting down enemies before they could close. Her hands worked faster than thought, chambering rounds, adjusting windage, exhaling with each pull. But then her scope caught it. Two fighters flanking, one carrying an RPG, perfectly angled toward the retreating SEALs. Emily shifted, breath sharp, fired. The first dropped. The second knelt, shouldering the RPG. She adjusted, squeezed. Click. Her magazine was empty. Panic surged. Fingers flew, slamming a fresh mag bolt forward. She snapped back to scope. The RPG streaked. The explosion shook the valley, dirt and fire engulfing a wall near Richards. Screams cut the comms. Emily's chest tore open. She fired, ending the gunner, but it was too late. Two SEALs lay unmoving in the dirt. Her stomach twisted, her vision blurred, the weight of failure roared in her ears. But there was no time. More fighters surged from the ridges. She forced herself back into rhythm, each shot tearing another enemy down, each shot fueled by fury, grief, defiance. Minutes stretched into eternity. By the time the SEALs reached the drainage cut, Emily was alone on the ridge, smoke and dust choking the sky. Her radio hissed. "Ghost Eye, where are you? We're at the root." Emily's voice came back ragged but steady, still covering. "Go." "Walker." "Go," she snapped. Silence, then Richard's voice, low but curt. "Hold on, we'll come back for you." She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her world had narrowed to the glass of her scope, the rhythm of her breath, the endless tide of enemies. Her position was blown. Mortars slammed the ridge, earth shaking, shrapnel slicing past. One burst hurled her sideways, dirt filling her mouth, ears ringing. Pain seared her shoulder where fragments tore skin. She dragged herself back to the rifle, vision swimming. Her hands bled, her knuckles raw. Still, she chambered another round. Through the haze she saw them, SEALs reappearing, sprinting back up the slope, against orders. Richards reached her first, ducking behind a boulder. His eyes widened at the blood streaking her arm. "Damn it, Walker," he growled. "You were supposed to pull back." She gave him a ghost of a smile. "Told you I'd cover." Another blast rocked the ridge. Richards keyed his comms. "We've got her, exfil now." The team rallied, dragging her to her feet. She stumbled, legs buckling, but Richards slung her arm over his shoulder. "You've done enough," he muttered. "Time to go home." The helicopter thundered in, rotors whipping dust. SEALs piled aboard, hauling Emily with them. As the bird lifted, she looked back down at the valley. Bodies lay scattered. Smoke rose from burning walls. The ambush had failed, but at a cost. 2 SEALs dead. Her fault. She sat silent in the helicopter, blood dripping down her sleeve, rifle across her lap. The others watched her, faces carved from exhaustion and grief. But there was no laughter now, no doubt. Only silence, heavy, respectful. Back at the outpost, the medics patched her shoulder. Stitches, bandages, morphine. Through the haze, she heard Richards outside, his voice low but fierce. "She held that ridge alone, kept us alive. Don't ever question if she belongs again." Emily closed her eyes, the words both balm and burden. Because she knew the truth. She had saved them, and she had lost them both at once. That night she sat alone by the barrier, stitches tugging with every breath. Her rifle lay beside her, cleaned, oiled, ready. She pulled out the photo again, her brother's smile staring back. "I tried," she whispered. "I swear I tried." Her throat tightened, but I couldn't save them all. The desert answered only with silence. And in that silence, Emily realized something she had resisted since the first day at Coronado. This was who she was now, not her father's daughter, not her brother's shadow. Her own ghost. The sniper nobody believed in. And the one who would carry their memory until the end. How do you carry the weight of the dead? That was the question Emily Walker couldn't silence. 2 SEALs gone in the valley ambush. 2 men she couldn't save. Their names pressed on her chest, heavier than any rifle, heavier than any pack. She cleaned her weapon every night now with a devotion that bordered on ritual. Not for glory, not even for pride, but because it was the only thing she could control. The rifle spoke with truth. It never lied, unlike the silence in her head. A month later, the order came. Intelligence confirmed a high-value target, the architect of multiple ambushes, the man whose tactics had mirrored the one that killed Emily's brother's team. A ghost of her past, still alive, still orchestrating death from the shadows. The mission was simple in outline, impossible in execution. The SEALs would infiltrate a valley stronghold. Emily would cover from the cliffs. One shot to end the ghost. But no one said it aloud. This was her test, to end the cycle or to be consumed by it. They moved under cover of darkness, boots crunching softly on rock, breath shallow in the mountain air. Emily carried her rifle close, her stitched shoulder aching, body scarred but unbroken. The overwatch point was brutal, a jagged ledge with no cover but shadow. She lay flat, blending into stone, her scope sweeping the valley below. The compound glowed faintly with lanterns. Men moved in and out, armed, alert. And then him, tall, angular face, eyes sharp even at distance, the man who had killed her brother without ever touching him. Her finger brushed the trigger, but her breath caught. Because behind him, through her scope, she saw children, two of them carrying water jugs, laughing, unaware. Her pulse surged, the orchard boy, the near miss, the choice. If she fired now, the round might pass clean, or it might not. And then she heard her father's voice in memory, deep and steady. A sniper isn't measured by the targets they hit, but by the lives they save. Emily exhaled slowly, adjusted, waited. Patience. Minutes crawled. The children vanished into the compound. The man stepped into open ground, adjusting his radio alone. Her chest stilled. The shot cracked. His body dropped instantly, silent, final. Below, chaos erupted, shouts, firing. But the SEALs were already moving, breaching, storming. Emily shifted to covering fire, cutting down fighters scrambling to defend. Her rifle sang until the valley fell quiet. When the SEALs exfiltrated, Richard's voice came over comms, heavy with pride. Target neutralized, mission complete, ghost eye perfect shot. Emily lowered her rifle, her body trembling with the weight of it all. Not triumph, not relief, just stillness. Her brother's ghost was quiet, for the first time in years. Back at the outpost, the atmosphere shifted again. The men who once mocked her now nodded with respect. Some clapped her shoulder, others simply left food at her bunk. Small gestures, unspoken. Richards approached her alone. "You ended it," he said. Emily shook her head. "I ended one man. That doesn't end the war." "No," Richards admitted, "but you gave us one more day alive. Sometimes that's all we get." He hesitated, then added softly, "You've done more than anyone thought you could, including me. For what it's worth, I'd follow your rifle anywhere." She looked away, eyes burning. Words like that were dangerous, because they reached places she kept locked away. That night she sat alone under the stars, her rifle across her lap, the desert stretching endless and silent. She pulled out the photos again, her father, her brother. "I'm still small," she whispered, "still not what they wanted me to be." Her voice trembled, "But I saved them. I saved as many as I could." She touched the photos gently. "I hope that's enough." A tear slipped free, falling onto the dirt. She let it. For the first time in months, she didn't wipe it away. Because maybe strength wasn't never breaking. Maybe it was breaking and choosing to keep moving anyway. Her story never made headlines. No medals pinned to her chest on a stage, no speeches, no parades. Her name wasn't in the papers, just a call sign whispered quietly among those who knew. Ghost Eye. The sniper nobody believed in. The one who was too small, too quiet, too invisible. Until the day she was. Years later, the war would blur into memory. Faces lost, names etched in stone. Missions forgotten by those who never fought them. But in quiet corners, in barracks and training halls, stories would linger. About a girl half their size, carrying a rifle too big for her frame, who refused to quit when everyone said she would. About how she saved SEALs in a valley where no one should have survived. About how dignity doesn't shout, doesn't demand. Sometimes it simply acts. And that was her legacy. Not the shots fired, not the men she killed, not even the lives she saved. But the truth that courage isn't measured in size, or gender, or expectation. It's measured in silence, in stillness, in the choice to endure when every reason says quit. Emily Walker was never the strongest, never the fastest, never the most obvious. But she was enough. And in the end, that was all that mattered.